Welcome to the show. It is officially Republic Day, and I thought from that perspective, why don't we bring you extraordinary stories of people who have done wonderful things for this country on one of my most favorite segments called K Spotlight. It's the place where we focus on ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I've got an officer in the Indian Army, of course, on the show with me. Captain Yashika Hatwal Tyagi is with me. It is good to see you. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Is Yashika is good, or do people? Because I have a friend actually, believe it or not, her name is spelled Yashika, but she pronounces it Yahika. Well, like, how do you? I should ask her.
No. Jai Hind K.
Good to
Let
see
me
you.
begin by wishing you a very happy Republic Day. And yes, my name is spelt and spoken both as Yashika.
On a day like this, Republic Day, patriotism is at its highest. Everybody is, singing the national anthem and things like that. But I feel for people of the armed forces, it invokes a kind of different feeling almost. So talk to me how you feel, especially on a day like, Republic Day.
K, what you have said is something like of a national sentiment. Sometimes people remember patriotism on days like 26th January or 15th August. But for Fauji's, it is the same every day.
Awesome.
So yes, it is just the same. It is business as usual. It is work as usual. It is remembering your nation, your country, your uniform, because this is how life is.
Right.
24/7, 365 days.
Right. So, for people who, of course, are not familiar with your work, I'm just going to focus on that for a second before we continue our conversation. You were a short service commissioned lady officer from the initial batches of women entries into the Indian Armed Forces. You passed out with a silver medal from the prestigious OTA, which is the Officers Training Academy,
Yes.
in 1994 in Chennai, if I've got that right. And during your army tenure, you served in intense counterinsurgency, terrorist infested, areas of Assam during Operation Rhino, and you hold the proud distinction of being the first lady officer from logistics wing to be posted to an extreme cold climate slash high altitude area of Leh, Kargil, which I mean that must make you a little bit proud. Am I right?
Yes, very proud.
And of course, in addition to that, you've participated actively during Operation Vijay and successfully coordinated logistics during the warlike scenario. And of course,
Yes.
hanging up your boots, you successfully, which I love, you've executed the model of ECHS, which is a Ministry of Defense project. And I mean, you have a lot of other things to your name as well, and I can go on with these accolades, all right, to be honest. But looking back on the 4G life, and things like that, I would love to say, I would love to hear what you have to say about women really changing the norms for the armed forces, and you see that a lot of late, right? And that makes you really, really, really proud. How does that feel for you?
It makes my heart swell with pride. Whenever I see a lady officer wearing uniform, either olive green or blue uniform of Air Force or whites of Navy, it gives me a feeling like I'm a mother hen and these are all my kids. And
I love that.
I,
I love that.
oh God, I cannot tell you how proud it makes me feel. Why? Because coming from the initial batches, like I'm the 77 number lady officer, okay? At that time, not even first hundreds were commissioned into Indian Armed Forces. And we were actually the prototypes. We were being tested for our capabilities, the deployments, the postings, everything regarding our training and the work was being tested. It was baptization by fire, I would say. And you are absolutely right that during the army tenure, I was in Operation Rhino, that is in Northeast. One line job description, one line. Your mistakes may come back home in body bags.
Wow. Okay, I like
No
that.
margin of error.
I'm a little
And with
scared right now when I talk to you.
well, you are talking to a trained soldier.
Yeah.
So academy was quite unrelenting, because they are not training lady officers or male officers. They are only training officers of Indian Army. The parameters had to be the same, and therefore the deployment has to be the same. I was posted to Kargil, first lady officer in extreme cold climate, high altitude area. I volunteered for it.
Right.
And yes, fighting that battle, I think my life just has two phases, one before Kargil, one after Kargil. It
Right.
changed me as person. Absolutely.
Hmm. You know,
Yes.
you also wear the proud tag of being a mother, which is one that comes with a lot of joy, of course, and being a Fauji mother makes you even more happier, right? Let
Yes.
me ask you about this. Firstly, you're a mother to how many children?
Two boys,
Two boys.
brats.
Brats. I was just going to ask you. That was my next question. In fact, how old are they?
Elder one is 25 and younger one is 22.
Okay, okay. So okay, they're out of their teens and stuff like that.
Yes.
Looking back, and especially when you go and you speak to different people, you meet different people now. Do you always, especially when you meet other women, encourage them to apply for the army and be in the army?
Yes. Okay. It is like a mission. I'm a woman on a mission. And I always tell, especially girls, that if ever there was a better time for girls to be born, to girls taking up the careers of their choice, it is this. When we joined Indian Army, there were times when we had to prove ourselves for everything. Now, 30 years down the line, sweat and blood and grime has paid off. And the girls are coming to National Defense Academy. Oh
Yeah,
my God. I mean,
which
it just
I
gives
can
me
see the
so much
joy.
of happiness.
I can see the joy.
Women will be flying. Yeah, women will be flying Rafale, God willing, this year. Women will be deployed in submarines. Women will be at the helm of warships in the years to come. And so I tell the women that if you really feel that you have it in you, then armed forces is the career. Okay, uh, which organization or which college or which institution, when you graduate from, has the fighter jets flying over you as you commission and you graduate? It's this. You get the same pay scale from day one. You wear the same uniform from day one. You get the same stars on your shoulder the day one. You get the same responsibilities from day one. And so, if you want to have a glory with the guts, and you are willing to lay down everything on the altar of equality, then only come to Indian Army. If you just want to be Papa ki pari or Mama ki angel, then please do not come.
I like that. Let me ask you about your tenure, of course, and in service and things like that. Is there a story that pops up in your mind always when people? I'm sure people ask you for stories, and people ask you to recollect sometimes and things like that. Is there one that you can touch upon and tell us about?
There is actually one very interesting story, but that is not from Kargil. I'll tell you something which is totally different. But when I was in Kargil, of course, every day fighting a battle, every day equipping the Jawans, the officers of Indian Army to fight that battle was something that uh, required every ounce of your energy and every last shred of your professional competence. I was a mother and I was also a pregnant woman. And so being in high altitude area, 12,000 feet plus, sub-zero temperatures, rarefied atmosphere, on top of it a battle, but that was the time to perform. But when I hung my uniform, I felt that probably I'm not good enough. That self-doubt came in my mind
Right.
for a little while. But then something happened that made me realize that once a Fauji, always a Fauji. And this incident happened in Srinagar. I was looking after the Ministry of Defense project of the health scheme for ex-servicemen. And we had one family coming to our polyclinic in midst of curfew, right? In Srinagar, the streets were like a battle zone between the stone pelters and the security forces. In that curfew, that family came to me and said, please save this child. The child had cancer and he was in very, very poor condition. He had to be taken to hospital. How do I take him? How do I take him? Cannot move out and can't keep him inside polyclinic because I'm not equipped. My polyclinic is not equipped to give treatment of cancer. So we kept him in ICU of military hospital. And then I requested my higher ups. I said, you just give me one vehicle. You give me one vehicle that will make me cross this war zone. And I was given a vehicle called Casper. Casper is like a big tank-like vehicle. If it rolls over the IDs, it can still survive. So in that tank-like vehicle, I sat inside with that little boy, with the parents. The parents were broken to bits, crying and praying, and Allah bachale bachche ko. And I held on to that child's hand, and our vehicle rolled out of cantonment. And in that street, the burning tires were being thrown at us. The stone pelting was going on. Black flags were being shown. But the vehicle kept going. Finally, we reached Sher Kashmir Institute of Medical Sciences. And the child was safely given to the hands of the doctors. That day I realized that a Fauji is a Fauji. Uniform is only a manifestation, what can be seen outside. But I think a Fauji is what actually the mindset is a Fauji. It's a military mindset. And so this is what I teach now. I am a corporate leadership multiplier. I am a warrior mindset coach. I run boot camps and I prepare the college to corporate age bracket. I train corporates, I train CEOs how you can survive a war zone. And
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. You speak about it with so much passion, which is what really gets me. Through this entire experience that you just mentioned, and certain experiences are always life changing, right? They change your perspective on life. And you also started by telling me how, after getting into this, it has changed your perspective on life and things like that, right? Today is also a day where a lot of the younger folk head on over to Rajpath to watch the parade. You have people who gather around the television to watch the display of so much that the Indian Armed Forces put out there. And you also have the people who, say, for example, who are parents or relatives of, individuals, and they might be at a faraway, sanctioned by the army, to guard a border and things like that. So, there's a lot of distance and people, different parts of India doing different things on this day. But, as a person who's lived through an army life and the army experience, what would you like to share as parting words to people who try for the armed forces and face that rejection, right? Maybe for whatever reason, maybe in some cases they're just physically not fit. There are some things when you take the physical test that are just not, it's not allowed. And those people who are like, this has been my dream, and because of my body and, for no fault of mine, maybe sometimes it's just genetics or whatever, I can't become an armed force personnel, right? They face that rejection and they're looking for another purpose in life. I would like you to talk a little bit to those people.
Okay, what you have spoken is a sentiment, and that is a very strong emotion. And those who get rejected at SSB, or even if they clear SSB, they do not make it to the final merit, All India merit. It is quite devastating at that point of time, because it is, you are not applying for a job here. You are applying for a way of life. And when you do not get a positive result, it is actually very sad. Sometimes I have seen people try for 10 times, 11 times, yet they cannot clear it. So I would like to really, really, really speak to those young boys and girls that resilience is rated higher than excellence in military. That is a fact. Resilience is rated higher than excellence. And so if you have a dream, don't let it just be a dream in your mind. You should be very clear as to what that dream is demanding out of you. And are you ready in your mind and body to stand that test? And so once you go to SSB and you come back with a rejection, don't wallow in those tears. Think, introspect, where have I gone wrong? And bring those changes. You see, you must have read it also, okay, during your course in education, that if you keep giving the same input, you will get the same output, right? So to get a different output, you need to give a different input. So your strategy must change if you want to have a different output. So if you introspect, bring necessary changes, correct your mistakes, appear again for SSB, probably this time you will make it. But having said all of that, it may happen that probably you are a wonderful candidate, but simply you do not have what army is looking at. Right? So in that case, you should accept it with understanding. Yes, of course, it feels very bad. You feel devastated. But resilience is name of the game. Resilience does not mean that I'll keep going and crash against the wall again and again. Look for a window. Go from there. If I can just give you an example here, President Kalam had gone for SSB. And he was rejected. He did not make it. President Kalam became Missile Man of India. Yeah. And the missiles he developed was used by Indian Armed Forces. And then this man rose up to become Supreme Commander of Indian Armed Forces. So where he wanted to become an army officer or an Air Force officer, he rose to become the Supreme Commander of Indian Armed Forces. So it just does not mean that if you do not clear SSB, you are not good enough. Amitabh Bachchan, he was rejected from SSB.
Yeah.
He was rejected from All India Radio also.
Yeah, he was.
His voice has too much of a bass. And then this man is known for the baritone now. So I really find it quite intriguing and interesting. And I know that everyone's journey is already decided by that Almighty. You have to have faith. And one thing that you must always remember is never give up. Awesome. Never, ever give up on yourself.
Right. I love the, I love the way you speak, really. The faith with which you have. But listen, of course we're at a positive time, and there's so much I want to ask you, and I can say honestly that I've barely scratched the surface. But on Republic Day, I'd like to wish you first a happy Republic Day, number one. I'd like to thank you for your service to the country and for what you're doing currently, which is pushing so many young people to be better versions of themselves and to, get into, what they always have wanted to get into. And on that note, it has been amazing, to say the least, to, speak with you for a little while. I hope one day we get to do this in person. This seems so cool.
Certainly. I would so love that, K. Aur ek baar mere saath bolo. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Absolutely. Super. Thank you, Captain Yashika. It has been amazing chatting with you. And any parting words you'd like to leave everybody with?
Bash on regardless. Come what may, just go on. Everyone.
94.3 Radio 1.